So we will jump right in because we're running a little bit late just because of all the technical issues that we have encountered today. So I will switch right over to our presentation for the day. Okay, so actually I'm not gonna do this in presentation mode just because we are going to jump between some like text editors and Python and Anaconda and a couple other things. So let's start with a history and background of Python. So Python is this really awesome general coding language that has really centered around data for a significant period of time, but ultimately originally was created in the sense in a sense kind of for readability. So Python was designed by Guido van Rossum in 1991. It was a hobby for him. He wanted to occupy himself over Christmas break and created a coding language that has swept the world over the last 30 years. So good for him. I wish my Christmas breaks were that productive. It's what is called a high-level general purpose coding language. So those are the true technical terms. High level means that that the system is able to capture theoretical solutions as opposed to just tactical solutions. And general purpose means that there's no specific avenue or niche by which the coding language is hoping to solve a problem. The Python is open source, so anyone who wants to can submit code. It's all on GitHub. You can, if you find a bug or if you find like a space in which you think there's not enough libraries or not enough solutions in Python already, you can submit code for it and it will go to the administrators of Python. There are a number of people who do work full-time for Python now. This is, it's effectively, it's as close, I think, as a coding language can get to a nonprofit by being open source and having no income streams, but through grants and other revenue streams, there are individuals who have become employees of Python. And there are administrators. So administrators will review your code. They'll look at the problem that you've set out to solve, and they'll identify if there's redundancies within the Python network already. And if not, your code will be committed and you will be a Python coder in more senses than just you can code Python. So a fun fact about this is it was named after Monty Python's Flying Circus. The founder really liked that. I love Python. I do not enjoy Monty Python, so I have some disagreements with the founder, but apparently he really enjoyed the show and wanted kind of a mystical, kind of unknown name for it. This was meant to improve and replace the ABC programming language, which was built in the 80s. I know computer programming does go back that far. And finally, a couple of things. Python uses readable code, and so what that means is there's a lot of indentation used. There's a lot of ways in which it is meant to be able to be used by those who are not the most technical people. It's not C++, it's not binary. This is a code that you can say out loud what your code is, and it makes logical sense. Python 2 and Python 3 have breaking changes. We'll get into that a little bit more later and talk about what breaking changes mean, but it's good to keep that in mind because when installing, we're going to install Python 3 today for those of you who don't have Python installed on your computer already. But Python 2 does have libraries that don't exist in Python 3 anymore that are still useful libraries. So keep that in mind as you code in Python. There may be solutions that you can only code in Python 2. Finally, libraries. Libraries are awesome. There are so many of them. We're going to install a bunch today and go over them, and they make our lives so much easier. Personally, I really appreciate all of the data libraries, but specifically there's a library called Pandas that we will work on, and it deals with geographical data, and geographical data is really annoying and difficult to deal with. So that is really helpful for us. Okay, so first of all, can I get a raise of hands from your reactions there? Who has Python installed on their computer? Cool. Renee, do you have Python installed? Okay, so we will go through this. I'll open up the chat and put these links in there. So we are going to install Python using this link. Do you have a Mac or a Windows? You can put that in the chat. Oh, that was the wrong link. I apologize. There you go. That one's the right one. So you're going to use that link, but have a Mac next. Okay, so when you go to this link, there will be an option to install on a Mac. You want to make sure that you use that. They are different installations. So while you're doing that, I'll go through a few other things. Everyone give a thumbs up or raise your hand if you have a text editor installed on your computer that you enjoy. So not Notebook. Okay, cool. That is all great. Okay, so as long as you enjoy your text editor, I will say I prefer Atom as a text editor, which is spelled like the tiny, 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 tiny molecules that create our universe. But if you are comfortable and happy with your text editor, keep that in mind as we go through this. Thumbs up for Anaconda. Okay, so we are going to install Anaconda. That is this link. And again, make sure that you're downloading the version for the operating system that you have, so either Windows or Mac. Or if you have a Linux machine, good on ya. But I can't handle that. They do have Linux options. So once we get to this, everyone thumbs up once you have Anaconda installed. No, you should not need to sign up for Anaconda Nucleus. You should be able to just download Anaconda. Let me go and see if that has changed. So I will go to the link right now.
Mine is downloading. It did give me an ad to try Nucleus, but it seems to be downloading without it, so.
Great. Yeah, you should be able to just use the download button. There are additional installers for Mac and Linux if needed. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you don't need to sign up for Anaconda Nucleus. I don't know what comes with that. So yeah, I can't speak to the benefits of it, but feel free to if you want. Okay, finally, we are going to install Jupyter. And that install is at that link. Jupyter is it's an IDE, so it's a notebook to edit and play with your code in real time. So you can be coding in Python and then actually see the output of your code without pushing to a lightweight website or doing anything like that. While everyone is downloading, I'm gonna stop sharing and then share my actual screen instead of my presentation so that we can see this text editor as we go through this. And then if you could just give a thumbs up reaction when you have those three things installed. So Python, Anaconda, Jupyter. While we're waiting for things to download, does anyone have any questions yet? Or just about Python in general or data science in general?
Actually, I'm not sure if I installed the right thing. Were we supposed to install the Jupyter Lab or Jupyter Notebook?
Jupyter Notebook.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna install that then. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, I apologize. Both of them they work hand in hand, but today we're using Notebook. I apologize. Lab allows you to coordinate with other individuals similar to GitHub, whereas Notebook is individual user. So it's hosted on your local machine. How do I find out the Mac version of Jupyter? So it should be available right on here. So what you can do you have Anaconda installed yet? Renee? Okay, so once you have Anaconda installed, what you're gonna do, oh, I don't know what just happened. What you're gonna do is you're gonna go to start and type in Anaconda Prompt, and then you will see something like this. And what you can do is take this Conda installation and type it in and just paste it in here. So Anaconda uses Conda as its installation prompt. So you want to do Conda install Conda Forge Jupyter Lab. Great. If you are having an issue with Conda installation, use Pip Install. And you can do the same thing with the notebook. Oh, I was wrong. I apologize, Kyle. We are going to use Jupyter Lab today.
It's okay. Actually, when I tried to install the notebook, it said requirement already satisfied. Apparently, when you install the lab one, it installs everything. So
Great. Okay, so once you have Anaconda installed, open Anaconda by using your start menu, and you will see a screen that looks like this. What we're going to do is we are going to install some Python libraries. And to this, because that makes life easier. Okay, so we're going to install some Python libraries. Thumbs up if you have your Anaconda open. I know that it takes a while to download. Great.
Anaconda Navigator, because I'm not seeing a window like that.
You should be, so when you go to start, what you should
I have
see,
a Mac, so I just went in my applications folder and I saw Anaconda Navigator, like the top of the alphabetical list.
okay, you can try to go to Navigator. There's no Anaconda prompt that was installed.
I guess I can search for that.
So Anaconda Navigator will look like this.
Hold on, I can't see your screen right now. Okay. Yes, that's where I am. Yeah. Should I
Okay,
type something in?
so what you want to do is go to your command exe prompt and hit launch. Does that give you a prompt screen?
Command exe. Is that a Windows thing?
So command is a Windows thing. I'm trying to think of what it is
You
in.
just want me to go on my terminal or?
Yes, your terminal.
Okay. And what was it
But
again?
it should be a window in your navigator. So here you should see something identifying your terminal as a command prompt or terminal prompt.
Let's see, Qt console, iCharm, VS Code. I mean, I have my terminal open, like I just opened it on my computer. Can I do it there?
Okay, when you type Anaconda into your terminal, what happens? Just straight Anaconda.
Error, a subcommand must be given. To show all available subcommands, run Anaconda-H. Should I be in my Python virtual environment when I'm doing this, or?
You don't have to be.
Okay. So Anaconda-H.
But you'll need a. Okay, so.
What am I looking for? There's auth, label, channel, config, copy, download, groups, login, log out, move. Oh, notebook. Do I want installed that? Package, remove, search, show, upload, and who am I?
What do you have set up for your Anaconda virtual environment?
I don't have an Anaconda virtual environment. I have
I mean
virtual
Python
env
virtual
for Python.
Okay, so here it says you should open your Launchpad and then click the navigator icon, and then in your terminal you can type Anaconda-Navigator.
Okay.
But that's just gonna open Anaconda Navigator for you.
Right. There's an instance of Navigator already running. Yeah, okay.
Right. Okay. Okay. I will have to troubleshoot that for you later.
I can just watch.
Okay. Renee and Kelly, I saw your thumb go up, so you're good with Anaconda. Renee, I know that you're also on a Mac, so you may be experiencing the same issues as Kyle is experiencing. Is that the case? Okay, great. Okay, so for those of us that have Anaconda open, we are going to install a number of packages. So we're going to install these 5 packages. And to do that, we are in our Anaconda prompt going to use conda install pandas. I'm not going to do this because they're already installed and I'll just get a bunch of gibberish. But I'll do it for pandas just to show you. You should see a bunch of stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will get a lot of progress bars and installation packages. Mine is already installed, so it will say that all requested packages are already installed. So you're going to do the same thing with requests, JSON, and OS. For Folium, we are going to use a pip install. So Folium is a library within Python that is not necessarily coordinated with Anaconda. So instead of conda install, you're going to do pip install. Jeez.
I can just do that in my terminal, right? Even though I don't have Anaconda.
Yes, you can do pip install in your terminal, and you can use pip install for all of these. It will just it'll be a bit different. Anaconda has a nice integration package. So it allows all of your applications and libraries to play nicely. Pip install doesn't quite have that integration capabilities.
Okay, I might just wait then and install them all once I have Anaconda working.
Okay, great. Okay, so Kelly and Ashley, thumbs up when you have those packages or if you already have those libraries installed. Cool.
Hi, I am getting an error for the JSON one.
What's the error?
Packages not found. The following packages are not available from current channels.
Okay,
JSON.
so if that's the case, try to use pip install. So the thing that is happening, so the thing that is happening is your channel is Anaconda right now. They may have decommissioned JSON. Interesting.
There's some like Stack Overflow posts about it, like not being available in Anaconda.
Okay. Interesting. This is new information. So if you're not able to install that, that is okay for now. Sorry, I have a kitten attacking me right now. I don't know if we're going to use that tonight. So that is okay. And I have it installed, so you'll see all of the stuff that it can do if we are using it. Okay, so now that you have those packages installed, what we're going to do is I am going to go to Jupyter Notebook. And what will happen is this will run in the background. So this is creating a local host on your machine for you to run applications and run a notebook essentially on your computer. And what we are going to build is a map of Syracuse with all of the water main breaks historically, because it's winter and that's what happens. So I'm going to walk us through some code. Note that I have the code written out already. I will provide this code in a text file and along with the presentation that will be made available for today. So all of this will be available. What we're going to use today, and there is a CSV file that is needed to be available. I don't think I can add files to this chat, Ashley.
I think I want to say that's the case, but I will poke around and update if otherwise.
Okay, so I don't believe I can add files to this chat. So this is kind of at the time where the co-working will have to stop, and I will make sure that that file gets uploaded with the additional information and, you know, text file and presentation and stuff. But what I'll walk through all of these pieces of code. We'll run separately, and then please speak up and ask questions as we go through this. So one key thing about Python is you have to invoke libraries as you use them. So we've installed our libraries on the back end, but when you go to write code in Python, so that application or that library is installed on your computer, but you have to actually invoke it in your code. So the first thing we're going to do is invoke all the libraries that we're going to use in this code by using import. For some libraries, they require you to actually call the library in your code. So sometimes it's easier to shorten that library's name. That's why I've done pandas as PD. And so you can create an alias for libraries using the as function. So we'll run that cell, and that has invoked our data for us, or our libraries for us. The next thing we're going to do is I am going to call that CSV file. So I'm going to change my directory to my page, or my file path. You can replace this completely with your file path, and as with other pieces of code, it will just direct you to the file path that you want. And then finally, you want to pull in your data. So we are naming this data. It is coming from the Pandas library. It is a CSV, so we're using CSV. There is a number of ways to invoke data sets in Python. So we're actually going to use two different techniques here. We're going to call from a CSV file, and we're going to call from an API. You can also call from Excel files, you can call from Json files, you can call from text files. There's all sorts of different data sets that you can call from that will be invoked as a data set using pandas. Because we're using pandas, it will automatically read in as a data frame, which is what we see here. Without using pandas, that would come in as a text file, so similar to the data that we see down here. So when we run this data, we get the heading of, so then finally we're going to run data head, and that gives us the first 5 rows of our data set. So we have our column names up here. We have our rows. Note that Python runs according to 0. So it's not an integer-based index, it's a number-based index. So integers start at 1, real numbers start at 0. That's really important to keep in mind when you're calling any different types of columns or rows based on their index, because you have to ensure that you're running based on a 0 index, not a 1 index. Next, we're going to call this API. So here we're calling from, excuse me. So here we're calling from, this is ArcGIS, but this is from the City of Syracuse Open Data Portal. And what this is their list of all of the water main breaks in the City of Syracuse up to a certain period of time. I think they have data up to 2017. When we run this, the goal is to get a response code of 200. We can look up API response codes. So API response codes, there are a couple that we all know. You know, there's 404 not found. 200 is a successful response. You can also get things like redirections, bad requests, 404 not found, 403 forbidden, so if your access is denied. So what we want to get from this is 200. If you are calling this API or any other API and you get a different code, it means there may be something wrong in your API call or your access. The next thing, I apologize. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to run, we're going to turn this into a data frame. So we're going to name this data 2 because we don't want to overwrite our data. And we're going to look at the response that we just got. So we called this response. And we're going to identify it as JSON and print that JSON out. So that's what we see here. And you can see, it's basically a string of text. But what it is organized in a way that can be understood by the system. So because this is JSON, it has hierarchical values, it has attribute fields, and so what this does is allow you to read the data. Unfortunately, this doesn't do us a whole lot of good because it's not readable by the system as a data frame. This is just gibberish to the system. It looks like text. So what we have to do is, using this data 2, note that we are going to overwrite now. One best practice in coding in general is to not overwrite your data and not overwrite your variables unless you are no longer going to use those variables in the future of your code. So we are not going to use this JSON in the future of our code, and in fact we don't want it to be available, and because of that we're going to overwrite it. So again, using pandas, we are going to call this piece of the pandas library and use the JSON normalize function on data using features. And features is a very specific piece of a JSON hierarchy. And what we do with that, we also want to rename our columns. So as you can see up here, we have name, location, type, Esri field type string, name, date. So this name is each one of our fields that we're looking at, or our columns. So object ID, full date, location, leak class. All of these are the columns that we'll look for as features in our data set. Because they are very odd names, we are going to rename all of them using this piece of code. So we're using our attributes to find that column and rename it. And when we run this cell and look at the head of this data, so the first 5 rows here, now we see that go from, oh great, Kyle, that is good news. So this goes from this this JSON that we just walked through to an actual data frame. So this data frame, now has all of the breaks that we've seen or that we've gotten from our API call. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to build a map. Folium lets us do this really easily. We literally just have to call a map and determine the location. So I'm calling this breaks map because it's about our water main breaks. We're using Folium. This is where if you had named this as an alias, you would use that alias. So if you typed in import Folium as F, you would use F here instead. And then we're building a map. Be sure in Python, it is case sensitive. So make sure that if map is capitalized, you want to make sure it's capitalized. If it's lowercase, you want to make sure it's lowercase. And then we're identifying the coordinates of Syracuse. So that's where our center of the map is going to be. And then this is our zoom. And we can play around with this to see how zoomed out or zoomed in that we want to see this map. So what this will do is build us a map of Syracuse. There are a lot of different map layers in Folium as well. So you can, so we're seeing street level. You can zoom in and see all the different streets. The street names will be on them. So this is the layer that we're using. You can also find geographic layers. So if you want to see the altitude map, you can do that. If you want to see different boundaries and stuff like that, those are all available directly in Folium. So we get ourselves a pretty little map of Syracuse. Next, we are going to overlay this map of Syracuse with our breaks. So using the water main breaks map or the water main breaks data that we uploaded earlier, and the Json that we uploaded, we are going to create a circle marker around the latitude and longitude of each water main break. That circle is going to have a radius of 7 and be filled with blue. We can make an opacity on the fill, which, because there are a lot of overlaps in this, we want that opacity to be really low. If there weren't a lot of overlays, we could make that a solid circle and that would be fine, but otherwise, for now, we're going to leave it at this. We are also going to design a pop-up. And so this pop-up, when you click on each one of these circles, you'll see the location that that circle is at. You can add anything you want to these. It's highly customizable. So finally, we're going to add that to our breaks map. So we'll run this piece of code. And what that will do is give us a map of Syracuse, which is what we had before. And then this overlaid is all of the water main breaks that happened historically before whenever this data was output, which I think was 2017. So we can click on each one of these. It gives the location of the water main break. If we wanted to, we could put the leak class on there. So if someone technical, who knew the water mains of Syracuse was going into this, they could say, well, that was a really light leak, whereas this was a true water main break. And we can go in and see all of these across the city. I know that was a lot and we're almost at 8 o'clock. Any questions?
I guess it's not so much of a question, but more of a note for at least Jupyter Notebook. I think the indentation that comes with it, like if it knows it's a Python file, it'll like indent correctly as you go.
Yes, it will. So if it knows Here, I'll go back to here. So if you create a new file, you can create a notebook that is of any type of file you want. If you specifically select Python 3, that will give you specific indentations. It will highlight words in the manner, like grammatically correct manner. So for example, if I take the quotations off of this, it goes back to black, but I can change it to red and make it a string by putting it in quotations. Same thing with like import is a function. 1000 is a recognized number. And then we have things in quotes here. Folium here, you can see it's being recognized as a feature of the library. So it will give you that defining nature of the language. Yes, Folium does rule. So I do want to, and I'm gonna jump back to the presentation for a second. I do want to touch on just a few more things. So went through all of this. So this, along with a text file, will be provided to all of you. And it will go on the YouTube content for when will go on the YouTube content when that's uploaded. Keep in mind to read left to right, so we go down this way and then down this way. It will be provided in a text file as well. Please ignore the kitten climbing on my shoulder. So one other thing I wanted to mention around Python is that some of the libraries don't play well with others. And I mentioned that earlier when we were setting up with Anaconda. So for example, I mentioned GeoPandas earlier. GeoPandas and regular pandas do not play well together. What you can do in Python is create different environments of your Python instance. So different libraries are installed to different environments. You can do that in your Anaconda instance using create new application, and this is the name of your new environment. So if you create new, and call it geo, then you know that that's your geographical mapping data. There are not a ton of these, but I find that don't work well together, but I still find that the environments are really interesting to work with because I use Python for a number of different things for different projects that I'm working on. So based on the project that I'm working on, I can create a new environment, not overload any single environment, and still have the things that I need to work on. Okay, well, if no one has any questions, I guess I'll open the floor again for a minute, but otherwise, thank you all, and this has been a great session, even with all the technical difficulties that we had.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. This was great. I don't really have a question, but I mean, I'm excited to try this. I did Google Maps in my my capstone for careers in code, and so I'm excited to try maps in Python too. And I know it takes a while to get like the videos up and everything like that, but if you could post the slides and the files like sooner, and then whenever the video comes later, like I'd really appreciate it because I'd like to try this out in the next few days before I forget the class, you know.
Yeah, here, I think I can share my PowerPoint right now. So you won't have the text file. You may have to change a few things. But I think I can share my PowerPoint and the CSV file in here.
Be great, yeah. Or you could just put them in Slack. I mean,
Yeah, I might do that because
then figuring
okay,
out.
I will do that because I don't have that option.
Yeah, oh man, I'm sorry. I should have like troubleshooted that before, but we'll get those to you guys.
Yeah, no problem, Ashley. And I will upload those to Slack right after this so everyone can try it out when they want. Also, if anyone has any other questions, especially around mapping and stuff, when I was with the city of Syracuse, I spent about 1.5 years doing a lot of mapping. So GeoPandas is really great for that. It allows you to change projections on the map and create different like scales and stuff. So there's a lot. It's very comprehensive.
Cool.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I know today was a little bit rough, but I hope to see you all at the next R session.
Yes, definitely.
And reminder, we will be starting our projects arc in January. So think about the projects that you want to work on, the teams you want to build, and we are looking forward to seeing what everyone is coming up with. Everyone have a great night.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you.